Hi there, and welcome to The InEVitable. This is MotorTrend's podcast about the future of the car. We're talking about electric vehicles, but also cars that drive themselves, and just everything that's going to change with the automobile in the coming months, years, decades.
Yep.
And beyond that, I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Edward Lowe, Mr. Everything at MotorTrend. My name's Johnny Lieberman. Welcome to The InEVitable.
And we have a great show today. I'm super excited about our guest. I'm super excited about the moment we're in. It does feel like this transition, everybody jumping into electric vehicles, is happening, but there seems to be quite a bit of bumps and some fear, uncertainty, and doubt for some people.
Sure.
So that's kind of the point of these conversations that we have. Let's talk to people that are out there that are either considering it or doing it or have done it, have made the switch, what they've encountered, what the concerns are. And so for this episode, we are going to talk to one of the leading automotive influencers out there in the game, Ms. Emelia Hartford. I've been a big fan, a big follower of hers for a few years now. And it's going to sound like I stalked her. I have a 5-page dossier here I built on her, but that's only because her credibility, her reputation, her resume in the space is quite long.
Yeah.
She's done a bunch of stuff. I think maybe we might have helped her along the way. So I want to ask
what I'm going to call a Rashomon moment, because you have your side of the story, and we'll get her side of the story. But what's interesting about her is, especially as a guest on this show, is she's a performance junkie. I mean, everything she does, she makes it go faster. It becomes louder. It burns more gasoline.
Right.
She adds twin turbos to this and that and the other. And I'm just curious. I'm sure she agreed to do the show because she's has some interest in the electrification or autonomy or something. But I'm just curious.
Hope so.
Yeah. I hope so too. I'm curious though. And she's much younger than us. We're like the old goats of the industry at this point. But I think what I'm seeing when I talk to younger car people, they don't see this big schism the way we do. I think we're around too many of these old, the old dudes in an In-N-Out T-shirt sitting on a beer cooler bitching about computers.
It'll be that's a good observation, but interesting theory to test, especially with somebody like her, because as you said, her car, the vehicles in her garage are so performance focused and all aftermarket tuned and really just out there.
And I mean, she has this I think it's a Mustang. You can't see out of the windshield because the supercharger's above the roof. It's ludicrous looking.
Right. So the question then is yes, and we'll probably pull a fast one and do what we did to poor Kristen Lee, which is ask her to speak on behalf of her entire generation and her gender about whether or not EVs are interesting, on their radar, part of the future, or she might end up, and then this whole episode goes south. She's just like, no, man, not for me. Like, I'm only interested in fossil fuel burning and superchargers and doing big smoky burnouts.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's not. I mean, look, it's inevitable. It's all coming anyways, but I'm hoping it's not that. But let me ask you this, though, before we get her in here, because I think she'll be here in a minute. Influencer, where are we on this idea of the automotive influencer? How do we feel about this?
That's a great question, and you're talking to the right guy, because this came up at a meeting. This came up at a meeting yesterday, where for better or for worse, and my feelings have changed a lot about the value of social media, but I do feel very responsible for at least where MotorTrend is in the space. Mike Floyd and I, colleague Mike Floyd, between us, I think
Mike's a digital director.
He does our all content operations. He's a former editor in chief of Automobile. He and I worked together for a long time, and he helped set up.
I've also worked with him for a long time.
Yes, we've all worked together for a long time. And during Johnny's tenure at MotorTrend, we did things like set up MotorTrend's first Facebook page. I think Mike did that. Mike also set up the first Pinterest account.
Me and you did the Instagram. I had a login.
I got a great story about Instagram, but I set up the Twitter account for MotorTrend. I got everybody I think some people still use it. Like, you're still like MT_lover.
That was a big mistake. Yeah.
Right. But whatever. I got everybody on Vine.
I remember Vine.
Meerkat.
What
was the other one? Everything.
Was Snap. We did Snap for a hot second. TikTok.
But yeah, the story I like to tell about Instagram, and this is like a total this idiot move on my part is back in the day, the former editor of Super Street, Johnny Wong.
Mm-hmm.
We were in the office, and he's like, "Hey man, you should check out this new app. It's called
I remember this.
It's called Instagram." And I was like, "What is this?" And I was like,
Yeah.
I was really into the camera. There was the Hipstamatic or something.
Yeah.
like
Yes.
There was this other camera app that
Yes.
did cool filters and stuff. Instagram was kind of like that, but I could not figure out the feed at all. I was like, who are these random ass pictures that are coming up here? So he had set up Super Street. I logged in and then logged out and forgot about it. So this is not for us.
Yep.
And then 8 months later, I came back to the platform and I was like, man, this thing's really taken off. So I should really set up a MotorTrend on here as well as my own. And I did. And fast forward 2 years, that waiting 8 months, that's called first mover advantage.
Yep. First in vigorish. Yep.
Yes.
As we say in poker.
Super Street got had 4 million
Yeah.
followers at that point, and MotorTrend had barely crested. I think we were like 150,000, and I was like just kicking myself upside down and backwards.
I mean, I remember when because you got me on Instagram. Because I was sort of like, my wife had to drag me onto Facebook. I'm just, even though I have spent a lot of time on Instagram, I wasn't that interested. So when I created my own account, but then you also gave me the login for MotorTrend. So, but at first on Instagram, I was posting my dog, I was just like, no, here's what I ate, all this nonsense. And then like MotorTrend, by the time I was kind of done with it, we'd grown it to like 500,000. We'd done.
Yeah, we had done, and we had made
much
all
to the, but I'd ruined my own Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
And then remember the old CEO called us in and was like, you guys got to get your Instagrams up.
right.
So-
And the thing with that missing out on that first mover advantage and making all the mistakes, that was why we ended up, I was like, I'm never missing again. We were first on Periscope. We were first on Meerkat.
Periscope.
We were first on Vine.
Right.
We were first on all these. We were the first to do, I believe we were the first to do a Facebook Live from a car event because I did it. It was Bugatti, the global debut of Bugatti Chiron.
Yeah.
In, I think it was Geneva.
Geneva show,
And,
2016.
I remember holding my phone up and like for 45 minutes as this guy's like talking about the car and the sheet drops in. And then I stopped and Facebook Live was like brand new. It was literally like a week old or something. And I stopped the video and I showed the PR guy next to me, and it showed like 180,000 people had watched it live concurrently, and literally his eyes fell out of his head. He's like, "What?" And then for like 2 years, we actually made a business out of doing Facebook Lives.
I did a bunch. I remember
at
that.
auto shows. So this hopefully will be a very natural conversation with Miss Emilia.
But what I'm saying is, how do we, as editors, as people who, will take I shouldn't say, we'll take a opinion counter to what the car company wants out of us. Because I have this conversation with PR types all the time. I say, listen, I know you like influencers because they never say anything bad about your product, but like, you're not going to have a job soon if you just let your marketing department directly feed the influencer.
Sure.
You, as a public relations person, you're gone. I'll be gone too, but you're gone. And they're like, that's a good point.
It's a good point, but I go back even further and say my fear. I don't have any particular extra going with influencers and whether or not they speak, with integrity or honesty. Like you're going to do what you're going to do. The content's going to be the content. My big concern is, as a brand, can any media brand compete with the power of these apps coming out of Silicon Valley, just for the mind share, the amount of time, every second you spend on TikTok or Snap or Instagram or Facebook is a second you don't spend with us on MotorTrend.com or even on our video platforms or with our magazine. It's mind share, and we're all losing. We're all losing to our phone, and so maybe the phone in general is something we need to put away and re-engage with society.
That's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
All right. Let's get her in here.
But yeah,
with that in mind, on that happy note,
let's talk to one of the leading automotive influencers out there, Miss Emelia Hartford. Man, this is going to be a great episode. I am so excited about our guest, Miss Emelia Hartford. I've been trying to connect with her for a very long time. Huge fan, huge follower across all platforms. She's a social media superstar in automotive.
And he's not lying. He does follow you and talk about you.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so
and
much.
I've been pitching your name and a bunch of things, which we'll talk about.
Yes.
I'm honored.
So this is going to be great. I am very excited to catch up with you, figure out what you're all about, what you're doing, talk about EVs.
But before then, because this is the InEVitable, it is an EV show, we heard from your advanced team that the
Stop.
vehicle you drove to the InEVitable podcast was so big it could not fit in the garage. And I'll just preface it by saying I drove a Jeep Grand Wagoneer that fit perfectly.
And you drove
in
a
the
TRX
garage.
here, I thought.
No, I think I had to park that outside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't remember.
So,
yeah.
What did you drive here?
I drove a gas guzzling Toyota Tundra.
How big is this Tundra?
Lifted on 37s, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, it wouldn't fit. So we're in a studio that has underground parking.
Yeah.
And that's not going to fit. Okay.
That was just a funny our car was not going to fit.
Well, we're already.
It's my karma for not bringing the vet. I thought about bringing the vet too.
It probably would have been too low and would have scraped.
You know what? That's probably
that's
true.
That's a pretty
See, now
severe
we're already
ramp.
way ahead of where I was planning to go because now I'm hearing about two cars which are not on the list of cars that I wrote down.
Oh, yeah. But I should point out
yesterday.
to the listeners that Ed printed out, it looks like 3 pages of
Well,
cars.
it's actually
Oh my
6 because
goodness.
it's double. It's 5.
Okay.
It's 5 because it's double-sided.
but of cars that you own. which is
Right, and neither.
nice.
I too carry a list of 6 pages of the cars I own.
Oh, right. No, the Corvette. You mentioned the Corvette. The
Yeah.
Tundra's not on there. Is that new?
No. The Tundra is a friend's truck because
Got
I
it.
just listed the Bronco for sale.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I didn't
I-
hear about that.
Yeah, it hasn't. I haven't posted about it yet, so you guys heard it here first.
Okay.
well, this may not come out for months.
No.
But yeah, I'm selling the Bronco. I can just make too good of a profit on it right now,
Oh,
and
very smart.
Interesting.
at this point forward with the build, for me to do anything crazy or more extensive than what I've done now, which is lifting it on 37s, exhaust, a wrap, wide body, I would probably need to pull the engine and
Right.
do like a Coyote or something fun. And it was one of my favorite cars to daily, which is why it was so hard for me to get rid of. But, the opportunity arose. When it comes to the world of content creation, you got to keep switching up the vehicles, and
Interesting.
that's what happened. So I listed it 2 days ago.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
It's at the dealership.
Any takers?
A good amount, actually. It's crazy how much over they're going MSRP.
Right.
How much?
Ballpark 30 to 40 stock.
Wow. Okay.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wild.
Oh, so you. Oh, wow. That's a nice.
How many miles you got on it?
oh man, like 3,000-4,000 on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good investment.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a
I'd say
very
so.
safe
I mean, it's
investment.
kind of cool if you think about like cars are assets and they're investments, and
It's
especially
crazy.
nowadays.
Well,
but-
let's talk.
Yeah, yeah, sorry.
Let's dive into that. So as I said, big influencer. You got I did the math the last 2 days ago. You got 880,000 followers on Instagram, 849,000 on YouTube, 7,000 on Twitter. I got you beat. That's crazy.
I got you beat too on Twitter.
That's amazing.
Twitter's
the
dying,
one that-
obviously.
I don't know if I remember my password for Twitter. I'm not gonna lie.
I lost mine for Facebook.
The,
It's cool.
the one that blows my mind is you have 1.2 million on TikTok, which
Yeah.
I have to think you started not that long ago, right?
Yeah, no, I wish I would have started at the boom when it was really popping off, and I didn't. I spent that time watching TikTok more than when I should
Right.
have been posting, but I found this niche on TikTok of just doing like these narrated videos, and everything shot on an iPhone. I'm a strong believer that people who are watching on a phone want to see iPhone quality stuff because it's more relatable, it's more fun, and they're just iPhone shot videos working on a car, and then I narrate over it. And I try to keep it very understandable. I don't go too into
Right.
detail
Right.
with things.
No, I fully believe you, and I actually think I go even deeper. I think TikTok, the apps reward you when you shoot natively in the app,
Yeah.
and because it's all algorithm driven. So if you use your phone, you use their app, you use their filters, and you share it within that ecosystem, versus importing a video,
Right.
saw it on YouTube or somewhere else, and then putting it on the platform. Like
So
you get
I've
both
I've
things.
heard that too, but most of the videos I post on TikTok are imported. But I do the voiceover in the app.
Got it.
So I pre-edit
Oh,
how I want it
interesting.
cut together because it's a lot of footage to kind of cut down the little segments that I'm going to take out of it. It's kind of difficult in the app, so I pre-cut it on Premiere. I drop it into the app, and then I just voice record over it, and then add music. And
You do this all yourself?
sorry.
You do it all yourself?
The editing, yeah. For YouTube, I don't do the editing anymore. I actually just hired a videographer who's helping me with some of the editing. So we're kind of in that transitional period to allow me to focus more on the builds and the creation so that while I'm doing that, I can just crank out twice the work.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Have you had like your credit card or identity stolen via TikTok yet?
No.
Okay, friend of mine.
what are you doing?
Well, a friend of mine who's an FBI
Wait, this took
agent.
a turn.
I was at a party. We're having dinner. A friend of mine is an FBI agent, and I said, "So, TikTok." He's like, You might as well just write like your social security number on your forehead. I was
Well,
like, what?
two-factor or multi-factor authentication. People
So,
look it up.
so they
do
say.
it.
I'm not gonna lie. I was really concerned to link my Instagram.
Yeah.
I haven't linked my YouTube because I'm a little scared. But I do have my Instagram linked on, and I was like, do I really want to share my password? And I was like, well, it's TikTok. They probably have it anyways.
Right.
There you go.
All
Fair
right.
enough.
Well, but let's.
Privacy's dead.
I want to go back because I feel like I know a fair amount about this part of your life, but you're also an actress,
Yes.
and IMDb would suggest that you've been pursuing acting far longer than automotive content creation. So can you give us a brief sort of how it all started? Where did you begin? That kind of stuff.
Well, the youngest thought I ever had was I want to be an actress. So it's something I've been pursuing since day one.
Okay.
Cars for me were a passion. It was just something that, like, when I came to the car industry, it was mainly because of the community and the family that it provided. Full disclosure, I lost my father at a young age. So the car community is kind of who stepped in, took me under their wings, took me out of a bad time, and really just helped me change my focus to something else.
Can I ask how old you were?
I was 15.
Okay.
Yeah, so right before getting my driver's license, which
Right.
kind of started everything.
Okay.
But yeah, I've been doing acting for as long as I can remember, and then moving back out to LA was part driven to pursue film and television. And I was working in a restaurant for 6 years, and I just got sick of, oh, you're an actor. What restaurant do you work at? And I was living paycheck to paycheck for so long, and it was so exhausting. And I lived in a small apartment on the freeway, and I was like, I got to make a change. I got to do something.
Right.
My mom, of all people, was like, honey, why don't you start? I was always working on cars at that point. My mom's like, why don't you start YouTubing working on cars? And I was like, YouTube? Like, what do you know, Mom? Like, come on, really? And then I had a few different moments after that happened, which kind of like sparked my interest into it, and obviously did some market research to see what was out there, and uploaded the first video, and we had some great traction on it.
Okay.
What was the market research?
Trying to see what builds were happening on YouTube, what
Okay.
were the genres, how were people documenting it, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So you said move back to LA. So you
Yes.
were originally here, and then
Yes.
you kind of
When
grew
my
up where?
when my father passed, my mom wanted to move to the Midwest.
Okay.
My family, my mom's side of the family, lived in Illinois, so she wanted to be close but not too close.
What
Right.
part? What part?
In Indiana and Bloomington.
Oh,
Yeah.
where the Rivian plant is.
Yeah.
Town Normal. Yeah.
I believe that's where it is. I
Yeah,
don't
it
know
is.
how
It
to
is.
say it.
Yes,
It's in Normal, Illinois. But yeah. Okay, cool. Been there.
And then moved back. Roughly what time period? And where in LA? Because we're LA people.
Where am I from, or where did I move to?
Where did you? Both, I guess. Yeah.
So I'm from Westlake Village area. Do you-
Camarillo, Thousand Oaks.
Really? That's so
I was born in Westlake Village.
Oh, that's so funny.
Camera high school graduate right here.
So I went
T.O.
to
High.
Agora.
Ah.
Oh boy.
And then I went to Oak Park, and then
Oh.
I went to Oakview. I went to a new high school every year, and then that's when I moved to Indiana and finished high school in Indiana.
Okay.
Was there for a few years, and then packed my 240SX, drove cross country, and started my life again in North Hollywood.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right, the
Well,
Valley.
we beat your football teams repeatedly, just so you know.
We didn't. We lost.
Yeah, we beat you too.
Yes. that's
Actually,
great.
freshman year we lost to Camarillo. That's right.
All right. So that's great. Okay. So Indiana, back here in a 240. So that was going to be my next question. What was your first car? And it might not be that one, but I sense a native interest because I believe your first car you YouTubed about was possibly that 240.
It was that 240.
Okay.
My first car was actually an Infiniti G35.
Right.
Nice.
Um,
That's a hell of a first car.
Never drove stick a day in my life.
Right.
Roasted that clutch on the way home.
Good.
And just kind of got obsessed with learning how to drive stick.
And you were 16?
Yes.
Okay.
And I wanted to perfect rev match downshifting and all these other like fine things of like entering the corner and when to brake and stuff like that. It turned just into putting into first gear, putting into second, trying to stop on it uphill to get without rolling back. Man, there was one point where I almost put a bumper sticker on my car saying, "Please don't park too close. I'm driving a stick."
My dad taught me to drive stick by putting me on the bottom of a hill. He walked to the top and said, "Get up." And he had this old beater. It was a Nissan Stanza wagon, and
That's amazing.
I killed the thing, but I was like 12, so you know.
Yeah, the handbrake was my best friend.
Yep.
And then my mom broke the news that we were going to be moving to the Midwest. And when I was out there, that's where I met the car community. And started working on cars, I put like subwoofers in my G35 and
Sure.
put test pipes in the exhaust and like little things like that. And then I would do autocrossing on the weekends with the guys. And then one day on the way home, I was at a stoplight and someone hit me because they were texting and driving at like 35 miles per hour, accordion the entire car. And I'd never, this is sad, but when my dad passed, I didn't feel like I really grieved. But when I lost my first car, that's when I really grieved. And then from there, I wanted to keep the Nissan Infiniti heritage, but I was in the Midwest, so it had to be LS swapped.
Right.
And that's how I ended up with the 240.
So can you talk about the difference between? I mean, I don't know the difference. I know the LA car community. I've been here a long time. What is the Midwest, the Illinois, and I know you're close to Iowa, up in Normal. What's the Midwest car community like?
You just said it. LS swap everything.
That's also the LA car community.
Well, to give you an idea, the time, I'm sure things have changed since I've been there, but when I was there, no one really cared what the outside of the car looked like, but you pop the hood and everything was so cleanly swapped and the work was so incredible, and that's what the focus was on. Everything else was rust buckets. They're salt on the road. They're swapping from summer tires to winter tires. And it's just like, it's the beater car, it's the sleeper, but then they have the LS swaps and 4G63s and these fun builds. It wasn't all American, but that's just kind of what I fell into.
Right.
Huh.
Right.
Okay. So I want to dive into the cars because I have them all listed out here. Just kind of figure out where you're at. But I do want to just go back a little bit and chat about the acting piece.
Sure. Yeah,
partially because there's a lot of intersection between what we do at MotorTrend, sort of, and the video content side, and then just some oddball stuff that I kind of saw in your IMDb. One was you did that Netflix show, Fastest Car,
yeah.
right? And that was, what year is that? 2019?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So how did you get that? Because and let me get this timeline straight. So you kind of started your YouTube channel in 2017? 2016,
I think 16,
Okay.
16, 17. It's been 5-6 years now.
So when did you kind of hit this hockey stick?
I don't feel like I ever hit a hockey stick. That's kind of like the term is like, oh, like dead, working, then all of a sudden it swoops up. I feel like it's just been a slow daily grind since day one. I don't feel like I got that lucky break. It's just working 8 days a week, 25 hours a day.
Okay.
But I don't think I've ever talked about how I got the fastest car opportunity. That's funny you ask me that. I was filming at Thermal Raceway, where I met my friend Jim Glickenhaus. If you guys know the
Jim,
Glickenhaus
sure,
yeah.
of course.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It's good
And-
Man of funny hats. Yes.
And I was expressing to him that I was pursuing film and television, and he happened to know a casting director who he connected me with, who was casting Fastest Car. And she thought that I would be perfect for it. We knew that, a stock LS probably would have been the slower of the vehicles.
Right.
But I went through the casting once I was connected with her, and they just thought it'd be a super cool opportunity. I was so excited about it that I said yes to it once they were interested, and we went from there.
How did that do? I knew the show. We were kind of grumbling at MotorTrend because we're like, oh, look at these Netflix guys trying to get in this car stuff. But I never really tracked it afterwards. Did it do amazing things for your career, or was it more like, yeah, I kind of did it and like,
That's a really good question. I feel like it was just one of the stepping stones to help to get to where I am today. More than anything, what that show provided me was a passion for drag racing. So before I was doing drifting.
Because it was a drag show.
Right.
Yeah.
So before I was doing drifting, I was doing a little autocross and stuff like that, track events. But I hadn't really had a lot of experience drag racing, which was funny being from Indiana. So completely changed the 240 that was a drift car into a drag car, got some slicks on it, beefed up the rear end. We ended up doing heads and cam overnight just to try to be a little competitive with it. And I really loved it. There was just something about it. I mean, I'd been the fastest car, but I was the fastest off the line. My reaction time was on point, if I could say.
Nice.
right?
And that kind of spiraled me into building my grandmother's G-body, the 79 Buick Regal.
Right.
And then, of course, when I got the C8 Corvette, I wanted to put it on the drag strip to see what kind of times it would do. So then we put a bottle of nitrous on it.
I followed that
and then
very
it
closely.
turned into
We're-
twin turbos.
We're gonna get there. Okay, awesome.
Real quick though, that's
Yeah.
interesting because used to have a show called Head to Head, and then it got dumped on Netflix like almost accidentally before we had an app, and I noticed this like overnight bump. Like we're doing pretty good on YouTube, and then once we're on Netflix, like people are calling me, and I think what happened was on Netflix, like you just watched at the time Top Gear. We're suggesting this show, so it automatically kind of auto played Head to Head, but it was crazy.
Yeah, and you got all the love from Canadians and Australians.
I mean, I went to Bahrain and I was like a celebrity. I couldn't walk across the hotel
Also the beard,
without.
I
Oh, funny. Yeah, I think because maybe I was one of a few on an episode, and there were several episodes. It wasn't the same. I did notice Hyperdrive. A lot of the I almost said actors. A lot of the drivers on that show got a lot of recognition and really bumped up their socials. I am forever grateful of Fastest Car. Everyone was so awesome to work with, but I think my experience with the following was just slightly different for that reason.
Yeah, right, that makes sense.
And then you've done recently. I don't know which one it is. Is it the California Christmas?
Yeah.
You worked with Ali Afshar?
Yes.
Okay. So let me just pause and say that this conversation is making me feel really old. Because
Ali
You
said
are
nice
really
things about
old?
you.
yeah, so I know Ali from like 2003 or something. He was racing Easy Street, Subaru WRX, STI. He was like one of the first guys out there to have a big old sponsored trailer and a WRX, and like just before I think he was a guy who discovered some of the stock Subaru transmission parts are made of glass, because he was trying to just dump ridiculous amounts of horsepower, and he himself is like this actor, now producer, director guy, and so when I saw that, I'm like, Ali, that Ali Afshar? And I'm like, what the heck?
It's so funny he's doing Christmas movies now, because he started doing like with Born to Race and all these car action films.
Passion stuff, really.
Yeah,
right?
and then during COVID, what happened was he wanted to put out a film. The networks wanted to film. Lawrence Swickard had just written this film that took place on a farm, and they're like, well, the two leads are married, Lauren and Josh. Why don't we make it a Christmas film? We can produce it. We feel comfortable. They felt comfortable because it was during quarantine, but they're already in a relationship, so being face-to-face was okay, and they're super COVID cautious, and they're like, Ali was like, let's just create this Christmas film, and it was #1 on Netflix for weeks, and that kind of transitioned him into doing more Christmas films, and it's kind of the niche that he's doing now, which I find hilarious and amazing. And then there's all these little Easter eggs of his cars in the background and in every film, which is amazing.
Christmas is secretly genius. Yeah, but you guys don't understand.
Oh, totally.
Like all musicians, they eventually, it's like their 4th album. You do a Christmas album.
Sure.
Because, I mean, listen, like Mariah Carey.
Yeah, I was just gonna
she
say.
makes so much money off of that.
It's
off
a
that album.
it's a legit genre, the Christmas movie.
Right, and I'm telling you, I got $1 billion idea. I'll just disclose it right now.
Yeah.
New Year's. The only New Year's song is Prince's 1999, and that was expired, over 20 years ago. Nobody does like the legit like New Year's. There's Auld Lang Syne and there's Prince. Seriously, what's the New Year's song?
So this year I'll be releasing my my single.
Exactly.
Right.
Original idea.
Yeah. That might be like $1,000.
No. It's $1 billion idea. Over time. Okay. So that was really just a shout out to Ali, and again how old I feel, and again.
Well, I do. Ali's become a really good mentor to me as well. So
right.
Shout out Ali.
Very cool.
So let's get back to the cars though, because this is wild, and I am going. Hang on. So 2016, 2017, 2019, you do Fastest Car, and you still feel like you're kind of grinding it out. Huh?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I still feel like I'm grinding it out today.
Do you remember an email exchange we had?
Oh God! Don't do this to me.
Do you want to see it before?
I
You printed out the email.
Your Honor, do you want to see Exhibit A?
Well, no. It's funny because this is no. Well, this is not supposed to read this part. Hang on, let me just walk you through it. So back in 2019.
Oh God.
No.
Is it good or bad?
It's great. No, it's great.
Okay.
Well, you tell me, because this is we John and I chat a little bit about this. This has a.
We'll find out if it's
I'd
great.
love to hear your viewpoint of this. So
Yes.
I'd been following you, and I noticed on one of your posts back in spring or summer of early summer of 2019. You're like, C8 Corvette, so excited.
Was it October?
No, that's later.
Oh, okay.
Was it spring? So what? Because they announced it late summer, if I remember correctly.
It was around that time, and I reached out, and I had one of our young writers, Duncan,
Yeah.
write a story about how,
Yes.
because you had said you were going to order one and
Yeah.
what the spec was. And
Yeah.
back then we do these spec stories. We're like, oh man, everybody build your own. And I was like, well, let's see what an influencer who has a large following, let's see what she's doing. So you were super great, so very kind. You talked with him, and we ran the story, and all things were awesome. And then we were working behind the scenes with Chevy to get some MotorTrend to get some good access to this new C8 and spin up this whole coverage deal. And we did. It was the biggest story. C8 was like the biggest story that year. Subsequent to that conversation with GMPR, I mentioned your name to the PR woman running Kelly Casonato. She was at
I
Chevy
love
PR.
Kelly. Yeah.
And I was like, you guys, you really should talk to this Emelia Hartford gal on. She's huge on Instagram. She's really big. She's doing big things, and she name checked your C8. And
Were you the
here's your
reason
article.
that I was invited to the?
Well,
press-
this is what Ed thinks.
So did that start your relationship?
Yeah.
With
So
Chevy?
that event in Vegas was what kind of started the relationship. They had Kelly had showed me how much research that they had done on every influencer that was there to make sure that in all past videos, the brand had only been spoken highly of. What kind of videos have they done promoting the C8 leading up to it? Well, of
Wow,
course, because
really?
there's a lot of brands who do this kind of research because
I
they want to
know.
make sure that it's not going to bite them in the ass later.
Right.
Sorry. But she was so kind to me, and that's where I kind of like met everyone, and then I expressed that I was trying to get one of the first ones, and yeah, then I was connected through the rest of the team, and then the
Awesome.
ball kept rolling.
Yeah, because then subsequently, so you did the order. You got a white C8.
Yes.
And then I watched the whole thing unfold on Instagram. This is the power of social media, and quite frankly, this is what keeps me up at night, because we're trying to, how do you compete with all these like awesome influencers that tell these really amazing stories? But like you literally like, I think you got a ticket like shortly, like right after you took delivery of it, and then you went drag race, and you're like, I'm gonna keep this as my daily. I'm not gonna modify it. And then you like put a nitrous bottle on it.
Yeah, I literally bought the car. There's video of me saying I just want to leave it stock. I just want a reliable daily. I mean, it's funny enough because the car's still reliable today. But I was like, yeah, I'll get a daily. And then it's Kentucky. We drive around the corner to do some donuts in like a back lot or whatever. Cop shows up. He's like, hey, that's a pretty sick car. And like we talked a little bit.
He didn't give you a ticket?
No.
Oh, all right. So you got
Okay.
pulled over.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
there was a shot. There was some visual.
Corvettes in Kentucky are like Ferraris in Italy. You know what I mean? There's an unwritten kind of understanding.
Well, and it was one of the first ones out, so he probably
Sure.
hadn't seen many on the road either.
Secretly, all cops love fast cars.
Yeah.
You know, they yes, they'll give you a ticket, but if you're speeding in a Corvette, you're less likely to get a ticket than if you're speeding in like a RAV4.
Right.
RAV4, who cares? You get the ticket.
I will say, when I got my Prius, I did feel invisible on the road.
You had a Prius?
Yeah.
I still have a Prius.
Yes.
What?
It's not
Where
quite
do
a
you
normal.
find these
It's not quite a normal Prius. All right.
Oh,
we'll
okay.
get there.
Okay.
So
It's a joke.
this is awesome. So because that Chevy relationship then, and this is part of the email. I was like, you can't see it. Like I was so annoyed when you did the Z06. You got early access to the Z06.
Yeah.
Not at you, at Chevy.
I was like, because it was Justin Bell, our good friend, and
yeah.
Mind
and
you, the early access was because I was featured in the commercial and the documentary based on the success that my team and I have had with the platform.
right.
Yeah.
Like okay, totally.
We're not
I'm not
taking
taking away from you. I'm not
No,
taking
I
away
know.
from you.
I'm
I'm just
taking
saying,
away
like,
from
that's.
him. Yeah.
Because we try our hardest to make sure we do good content, and like we blew it out of the water with C8. And then I looked at this thing and I was like, she's on with Justin Bell and Taj, and it's like what's going on?
You should know, Justin has appeared in like countless videos with me, and we, the first big cover story I ever wrote for MotorTrend 12 years ago featured Justin Bell. Like, we know Justin, we
Yeah.
know, we're starting to know you better, and we were kind of cut out by Chevy. That's the
I'll
problem.
literally
Oh,
read you the
no.
line
Yeah.
here that then this one went to my internal
Well, I don't-
internal team. No, it
Wait.
says
Okay.
I'm not taking anything away from Emelia Hartford at all. She's hustled the last couple of years and grown her following considerably with great content with and without Chevrolet. But we should have been a partner of Chevy on the Z6 launch. We know Emilia, we know Justin, we know social, we have the platforms, and on and on and on. And I
Wait,
was
you
so
sent that email?
No, I said, but it's internal. I was like,
Okay.
guys, what are we doing here? Like, how did we miss this one? So that's, and this, I'm
Oh,
sure.
I don't think it was anything personal.
No, I know. Well, it might be actually.
Yeah, they like influencers because
Yes.
especially the ones they can check their background. They have nothing negative about Chevy ever.
Yes,
They
and we
check
don't
our
have-
backgrounds.
we
It's
don't have
like,
that.
oh.
So, but let me get to this where this is going, because in between you did C8, and then you also got invited on Hummer. EV.
Yes.
Is that in between before Z06? It was. I think,
Yes, that was before Z06.
And I watched that walk around.
Hang on, before we get there, because we're gonna get to the green stuff. But let's go through this incredible list of cars that you.
All right,
Okay,
all right,
okay.
all right, okay.
And
We'll
see how accurate
Okay.
We'll pause.
Ed's internet stalking is.
We'll pause and come back to Hummer because we
Yeah.
do want to end up with EVs.
Well, we have more.
Okay, so first car I got 2005 Infiniti G36. I saw another G35
Yeah.
6-speed manual.
Yes.
I saw another one that said you had it's actually on your site. That said you
That
had
hasn't been
2004.
updated in
Which
a
hasn't
while.
updated. I was going to say that, but it's a little. Yeah, 2004 Subaru WRX wagon.
Yes. I
Okay.
had that. That's probably the Bronco's the second car I will have ever have sold. Truck,
Okay.
whatever.
Okay.
So that was the first.
I had a 2002 WRX wagon and a 2006, and I deeply regret. Well, the first one got totaled. A drunk
Oh,
kid hit me on
no.
Thanksgiving with my mom in the car. That was awesome. And then I sold the other one to my best friend, and I super regret it because it's
Well,
still
yeah.
a great car.
Well, the 6 was the Hawkeye, right? The 06, 07?
No, yeah. I don't know. I thought the 04, 05 was called the Hawkeye, but it was
That was the Blob Eye.
Blob-Eye.
Bug eye.
Bug Eye was 02
Bug-Eye
to
was the
03.
first one.
Yeah.
And then was they
Blob
revised
Eye
it. I
and
thought it was the
then
Anyway, it was
Hawkeye. Maybe Hawkeye was 07. I don't know. I don't
It
remember.
was normal
Whatever.
ugly WRX, but it was it was rally blue. It was everything.
Oh, I love that.
And a wagon.
Yeah.
95 240 SX, which is what
Yes.
started your career, more or less, with LS swapped 500 wheel horsepower. I think I said,
Yeah,
heard you
yeah,
say.
tire.
Pretty healthy.
Yeah.
Pretty healthy.
And then you got which is comedy, because I watched your YouTube video from 2001, where you go through your whole garage, all your vehicles, and you said, "Oh, I got this 2007 Prius, which I wanted to reliable daily drive."
I've heard that before.
And then you put a K24 Civic engine in it, a 6-speed, an eBay turbo, and it makes 300 wheel horsepower.
All right, you're forgiven. You can stay. We can keep this
Called
going. Yeah.
called Pronda because it's a Prius,
Yeah,
Prius
Prius
swap
and a
Honda.
Honda,
Okay.
yeah.
And your buddy's 93 240 SX.
Yes.
I don't count as yours. Then you got the 79 Buick Regal
Yes.
with a 6-liter 408 stroker that makes a conservative 800 to 900 wheel horsepower.
Yeah, twin turbo.
It's called Mimi,
Mm-hmm.
and you could
Named after my
Named
grandmother.
after your grandma?
Yeah.
you could daily drive that or no?
I could
got a
if I
quirky
wanted.
race
Yeah, I
seat
mean,
though,
technically you could daily drive anything.
Right.
That's true. That's true.
And then you got this awesome EJ Impreza coupe.
Yes.
Oh, wow, really?
With oh my god, it's got a bunch of stuff on it. It's red. It's called the Tomato. And
It's it's a 22B wide-bodied style Subaru Impreza. And it has an EJ207, the Japanese STI engine that was shipped from Japan. Shout out GADM in California. And then brought to the States where I originally had that one in Poop Turd, which is what I called my 04 wagon because it was brown. And then the engine let go inside that car. I decided to put a stock EJ in the wagon, sell that, and then rebuilt the 207 to then put into the Impreza.
might be my favorite car in the collection.
It's
Let's be
it's
honest.
definitely
That's
up
awesome
there for me
because you
too.
only ever see the 22Bs in rally blue. You never see another
Yeah.
color, so that having it red is I like that.
Yeah, some people would argue is it red or is it orange? It's the
I have a car like that. I have a car like that.
And then you got the 2020 Corvette C8, which
Yes.
you've done a bunch of stuff to. It's turbocharged, first one, prototyped. You had for a while.
I think it was the first with the cold side. I want to try to have people come after me for saying
Right.
it was the first.
They'll
but-
come after you no matter what. You do.
I know.
Which
Is
we'll
it
get
still is it still nitrous?
The nitrous is more for show at this point.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah.
It was for a while the fastest C8 around in terms of quarter mile, 9 second.
Yeah.
Near 9 second
Yeah,
quarter
yeah.
mile.
936 was the record that we held for a little over 6 months, I think.
That's pretty good.
Wild stats. It was one of the top 5. What is it? Most
Recreated yeah.
vehicles on Forza.
Yeah.
Wow,
That's amazing.
Crazy, right?
that's great.
yeah.
And then and I saw this post too. It was featured in a Sunset Boulevard billboard. So you'd made it in
Yeah.
Hollywood.
I
For-
remember.
for-
I think
for
I saw that on
Motul.
your Instagram or
Yeah.
something.
Okay.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I had.
That's pretty.
That
sweet.
was around the same time that I had announced my partnership with Motul Oils, and we'd always been working together, but this was the first larger scale thing we'd done together. And obviously, I was running their oil when we broke the record, and they wanted to help boost eyes on what we had done. So they got a billboard over Saddle Ranch on Sunset Boulevard with me crossed arms in front of the Corvette saying, "Your move, boys."
Nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
How much horsepower is this? Right now, or?
I think it was like 15 crank. It was like 1250 tire or something like that.
That's 1,250.
That's
That's
a lot.
1,500 at the crank.
And
That's,
it's a stock transmission.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, aftermarket clutches, but
huh.
yeah.
stock crank too.
The Chevy. What did the Chevy guys say? They're like, hey.
Oh, they love it.
Do
They've been super supportive of everything.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
they must, yeah. That's wild.
And it's still reliable. Nitrous
Yeah.
and triple the horsepower.
Yeah.
And the transmission still works.
Yeah. So
That's
far,
awesome.
so
Yeah.
great.
Great.
It's mind blowing. And then let's switch gears because it's featured in the video, but I didn't know the year. You have a Mustang. You saw the Mustang? Yes.
No, I still have the Mustang.
Okay. What year is that?
2017 S550.
Okay.
And that's with a big block Ford 598.
Is that the one you can't see out of because the blower's like to the roof?
I mean, I only need to see straight.
Yeah.
So.
No, okay. I've seen that
Yeah,
one. Yeah.
with the big root style blower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many horsepower?
We were shooting for 2,000. The engine was out of a naturally aspirated build, so it wasn't built for the power, but we thought we would just throw the engine in there anyway, see what we could do. We topped out at about 800 because we were getting valve float. And then actually yesterday we found out that we thought we had spun a rod. What happened is we actually spun a main bearing, which then deprived the rod journal of oil.
Oh, right.
Sorry, I don't want to go down the hole of getting too
No,
techie with things.
It's okay. It's okay.
And then, yeah, so that's at the machine shop now, getting rebuilt, and then we're lowering the compression ratio from 11 to, we were able to get down to a 9.5, but again, the build was originally intended for NA, but, at the time we really just wanted it for the SVO block, so that's what we went with, and yeah.
So you started out as a Nissan fan, and you love, obviously, Japanese vehicles. You get a bunch of Subarus that you've had. And then you went to GM, and you got a Corvette. And I noticed, and you correct me, it was almost a very subtle diss in that video on the Mustang. So you're like, when you were like firing up, you're like, I don't know if anybody wants to hear a stock, 5-liter.
Stock anything.
Are you team Chevy more, team Ford, or you love
I
it
just
all,
think it's
or?
fun how people are so controversial about it on the internet. I actually just did a
'cause-
podcast with Jim Farley, the CEO of Ford.
We're gonna ask
Yeah,
about
we
that.
know Jim.
Yeah, and he's such
he
a
sort of
kind-
copied this podcast, so that's cool.
Wow.
What?
We'll get
he
there.
did.
We'll get there.
I'll stay out of this one. But no, he was incredibly sweet, true gearhead.
Yep.
But no, I think if anything, it's just more to like get people like, oh no, but the the stock Coyote sounds great with the mufflers and the cats. And no, but Chevrolet, it's more to like get people like hyped and commenting and have fun with it.
So that was a conscious decision on your part to do that, or you're just
Oh yeah, I mean,
Okay.
well, let's be honest. Does anyone like hearing a stock car fire up? I don't know.
Depends on the
but
car.
it depends on the car.
Depends on
But
the car.
more than anything, it's more like a tongue-in-cheek fun thing to say.
Because I just find like I've done a lot of comparisons in my life, and I think this generation of Camaro is better than this generation of Mustang for the most part. And everyone's like, "Oh my God, you're paid by Chevy." I drive a Ford. That's my car. I own a Ford. I don't really care about brands at all. I just care about the products. So I always find, no matter what you do, you're attacked. I find.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's really bad.
But it's interesting that you're kind of doing it intentionally, whereas I'm not. I'm just like reporting.
Oh, super savvy.
No, much savvier than us. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. For sure.
All right. So you love the Mustang? You're into it?
Oh yeah, I really. I'll be honest. I wasn't a huge fan of it stock. Then modifying it, I was like so stoked on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you got one of my favorite
I
cars
saw this
ever
car.
made.
I saw this car.
What year is the 458? The Ferrari 458.
It's a 2010.
2010.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Liberty Walk. You got a big old wing on it.
Uh-huh.
You got you painted it. Or is it painted or wrapped?
It's painted.
Painted a cyan color. I don't remember. It's kind of a blue gray.
It's the
Awesome.
Scion XV.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I think it's called like mica teal or
Right.
something.
Oh,
like
that's
that.
It's good. It's a
fantastic.
good color. It's a color you don't see.
It's a good
Ferraris in.
color.
I mean, I just did a story on this Porsche that Workshop 5001 did a 356, and it's. I'm like, oh, what's that paint? He's like, it's Amazon delivery van. I was like, that's a great color,
is.
but it's literally Amazon delivery.
I
van.
love
Yeah.
that. I
Have you
love
done
that.
any
That's awesome.
performance mods to the Ferrari?
Just the catback exhaust.
Okay.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah, that was a design that I did,
Right.
and then helped fabricated with one of my team members, Sandy.
Yep.
And what do you, let me just real quick, we can pause here. What do you think of the 458?
I love it.
Yeah?
I really love it.
It's a great car.
And everyone's going to think, oh, but she's paid by Chevrolet to say this. But,
Yeah.
like, that car makes me so excited about the Z06 because of the flat
Right.
crank V8.
Well, and I think that's the car they kind of not performance benchmarked, but like spiritually benchmarked, right?
Sure.
Flat plane, mid-engine V8, very uncompromised. So I think that's
Yeah,
what
I
the
mean,
Z06 is
I
gunning for, a modern version of
I
it.
don't want to say because I don't know what they've come out with publicly, but I do know that they've been talking about doing the mid-engine for so long, and I do understand that they felt like they tapped out with
C7.
with kind of the V8s that they're doing. So for them to do the flat plane crank, I think it was just
Yeah,
the new
exactly.
territory that they felt the next step, especially going to the supercar market, was what was needed.
Well, they got a great response. Ford got a great response too when they did their flat plane crank. Like,
Yeah.
I think that just that drew a lot of eyeballs.
And especially with sound going away,
Right.
having these like amazing sounding engines.
That is the
it's a big
Z06 is one car that stock I think sounds
Yeah.
freaking amazing.
What about you? 458's pretty good.
That sounds really good
Okay,
too.
yeah. There's a couple, like I said, depends on the
Right.
car.
I mean, again, we're talking about flat plane crank V8s.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, is there anything between that, which I think was your last big one, and the Bronco, or did you see anything else?
The GNX.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have a Buick GNX?
It's not a real GNX.
Okay.
But I've always wanted a GNX, so I bought this fake GNX because it's got a boat motor in it, a 455.
Okay.
And originally I had bought this car at auction, so I was like, well, I'll move all of Mimi's parts over to it. And then I got the car, I was like, well, this one's already pretty heavily built, and then on top of it, it doesn't have the appropriate cage, so for me to do what I need to do for the chassis design to get to where Mimi is, it doesn't really make sense. But I don't know, that's a car that I'm just dailying and having fun with until the boat motor goes, and then I'll kind of humor what to do then. But I wanted a Grand National. The prices are astronomical,
insane.
and I didn't want to touch the Turbo 6, so I was just like, you know what, I'll get like a fake looking one and just enjoy it for what it is. Yeah.
So we're at like a dozen, or let's say, cars that you have owned or owned recently.
Plus a Tundra.
Plus a Tundra you're borrowing. Plus a Tundra. I note no EVs.
The money I'm using to sell the Bronco, I think I'm gonna get a Tesla.
Okay. All right. Well, let's
Spoiler alert.
let's start there.
Which Tesla?
The Model 3 Performance is what I'm looking at. Obviously, nothing's been confirmed. This is so mom of me, but I got a dog, and I need a car for my dog.
Sure.
So.
Okay. All right. So you answered the question. The question was, I was just kind of.
No, the question is, what kind of dog?
Well, it could have got. All right. What kind of dog?
Do you have any pictures?
Shiba Inu.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
the cat, the cat of the dog world.
That's what they say.
Right.
Yeah, that's
But
what
I
they
will
say.
say this: if you have a Shiba Inu, you don't really need a car. I mean, they sit on the seat.
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
fine.
So wherever they want.
Well,
actually.
it's also like I don't want her claws like scratching the leather in the Ferrari.
Sure.
Okay. Well, the question was: is EV ownership for you inevitable? You love horsepower. You love big blocks. You love small blocks. You love American metal. You love Japanese performance cars. But you've answered it. So now the question is: after the dog mom, is there any other compelling reason? Is this are you going to modify? Is this your reliable daily driver that you're going to swap an LS into? Like
until aftermarket support with EVs comes out, for the.
It's out. I mean, we got unplugged performance coming in, and there's lots of companies that are tuning Teslas.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to.
Okay.
Who wouldn't?
But why? So why the EV?
I think just with where I live to have the autopilot. So, can I say so I can do emails while I drive? And
You
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm not a cop. You can say whatever you want.
But I just to have that sleeper daily because I don't all the cars are props for the YouTube channel that I use for filming purposes. To have a vehicle that I can discreetly go that's not gonna spit flames out the exhaust and be extremely loud and low or whatever it is, just to have that kind of like quiet daily.
You forgive my skepticism, but you're also influencer friends with a certain Alex Troy, who
I
who
am.
might own one. I think he owns several cars, including I think a Model 3.
He does.
And he slides the hell out of that thing.
Yes.
So is that
I
in
was
your
actually,
future too?
funny enough, I was invited to the launch as a guest of Tesla when they unveiled that drift mode on the software
Sure.
update that they did on that, when they said that you could change the bias front and rear and have fun with it. Sorry, what was your
So the question is, are we going to see you sliding this thing around too? or?
When do you
I mean,
autocross
I think it's the inevitable.
Oh. Zing. Okay, bonus points. I
Nice.
wish I had a bell.
Right.
Okay, so what cars were you, what EVs were you considering, or was it just automatic? I'm going Tesla. I know this is the one. Like,
I was looking at the Taycan as well.
okay.
But I think at the end of the day, just with the autopilot and the supercharging stations and the ease of all that. And again, I haven't made my decision. That's just what I'm hearing right now of what I'd
Okay.
like to get. For me, it's more about the autopilot than it is about the fact that it's electric. I'm not 100% like, I already don't like to get gas, so the idea for me to sit at a charging station for 20 minutes, and now with there being more EVs and having to wait longer, scares me. But I don't know what that situation's like.
Well,
as
let
far
me
as
ask
I
you
know,
this:
it's going
what's
to be.
your home situation?
And that's the thing
Do you
is-
can you put a home charger where you live?
I can.
Oh.
Thankfully, I can.
Then
If
you'll
you
never-
asked
then
me a
you'll
couple
never
years
have to
ago,
charge.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But I mean, we can talk about the future of EV. Like, I'm excited to see what the automotive industry will do with it.
Well, I was going to say, if you haven't bought it yet, and I don't know if you know anybody at General Motors, but they are coming out with several EVs.
18.
Yeah, including and you claim you want something that has really good adaptive.
Level 2 autonomy.
Yeah, like driver assist features.
Right.
Cadillac,
Yes.
Super Cruise, and Lyric is coming out.
Yeah, the new Cadillac
Yes.
So
Lyric's
I'm sure
launching.
somebody over there would be super interested. In,
I do have my name on a Cadillac coming soon. That one I won't say which one. And I do have my name on a Hummer EV as
Okay.
well. So I mean, I think it's just kind of the future of where the industry is going.
Got it.
I was at the proving grounds for Heritage Week with Chevrolet, where I got to drive a electric swapped C10, and
Yes.
Oh yeah.
it was pretty wild.
Okay.
Right.
Because instead of hearing the engine, you're hearing the whine of the transmission.
Mhm.
And if I remember correctly, I don't 100% remember. I think it was a 4L80 that he had adapted in order to work. But just hearing like a whine next to me and then like the gah gah between shifts was such like a different visceral feeling than what I've been accustomed to with gasoline powered.
Right.
So I mean, I think there's a potentially fun future with EV.
Oh, yeah.
And
I just was in Spain with Porsche with this thing, the Mission R. It's like a futuristic Cayman, but it's electric, and it has 2 transmissions, and it's the straight cut gears.
Oh, fun.
So the motors do whine a little bit, but the gears were
Yeah.
like just.
Oh, I bet that's so cool.
It was cool. It gets a little repetitive because I think it's a 2-speed transmission or
Sure,
even maybe
sure.
a 1-speed. I can't remember.
So it's probably just droney out after a certain point.
Yeah, but and it's after like I think we did like 8 or 10 laps. I can't remember, but I mean it was it's just it's a different noise. It's like it really amplifies the transmission.
Yeah.
It's interesting
Yeah.
that you picked up on that, and so
Yeah, no, that's
it's very cool.
Well, I think this is great because your future is so bright. You're uniquely positioned because you have all of this aftermarket performance, sports car, drag racing, all this stuff that's gas powered. You are a great spokesperson for performance vehicles, and obviously big companies see value in you repping EVs. But then there's this whole other thing that Ford and General Motors are doing. It's probably why Jim wanted to talk to you, which is their electric
We're very cynical.
crate motor.
yeah.
Programs.
We did talk about that a little bit. Yeah.
Right. So, now you've done at least how many LS swaps, or I guess that's more of a LS swap is like it's like a junkyard kind of thing, or it's available, like it's deep aftermarket at this point. Have you worked directly with Chevy or Ford in on their crate motor programs? Is that something you would do? You're like, oh yeah, that'd be cool.
I would love to. It's something that I'm in talks with right now. So it'll be very interesting to see hopefully what happens, and maybe something will debut at SEMA this year. But yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Okay. So so the switch to electrification is inevitable for you. Do you ever see a time where it's all you do? Like
No.
Really?
I don't see that yet. My opinion could change, in another 5-10 years, but at least for right now, I still see there being a market for gasoline powered. And I mean, listen, we're talking about Los Angeles. You think of the rest of the world, like I don't know that we're there yet where charging stations can be everywhere. I think there will be the need for gasoline engines, but I mean, they're also, I think no matter what, it'll be a hobby. I think it'll be, you still go to the racetrack, it'll be spirited driving. I don't think they're going to go away entirely.
And I mean, not for a long time.
Yeah.
If they ever do.
And then, what does your audience want? Not
I,
EVs, or
no, I wouldn't even say that. I mean, I think they would want whatever is most entertaining to them. And I think whatever excites me, fortunately, I have such an incredible fan base and subscriber base that if I'm enjoying it and I'm learning something new, that they want to tune in as well. And it's also very rare for me to ever say something negative about a brand or an OEM, about whatever company it is. Because if I don't like it, I just choose not to say it, which people can usually pick up on that from me anyways. But I also believe that at the end of the day, we're all just trying to better the industry and want to see the success of it. So I see no reason why to talk poorly on anyone when at the end of the day we all have the same goal of seeing this live as long as it can.
Right. Having said that, what was your impression of the Hummer EV?
I liked it.
Yeah, let's hear about it.
Well, so you did I watched one of the videos. You got to do the initial walk around.
Yeah.
And then did you get to drive it then, or no? Was it a little?
It wasn't production ready.
Okay.
So I can't comment on how it drove.
Right.
But I was able to sit in a production Model 1 and
Right.
experience the crab walk, and that
Okay.
was so trippy,
Right.
but so cool at the same time.
But subsequently, now that they're out, have you spent time driving one around or not?
No,
yet?
I need to
waiting?
get myself in
okay.
one. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real feat of engineering. We know the guy who poured his heart and soul into it. Did you meet Al? Al Oppenheiser?
I
Al's
love
the best.
Al.
Al
He's
is
the best.
So I shot with him for Heritage Week, and I got to see his collection.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's very
Dude's-
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude.
And they celebrated my birthday in his garage because I missed my birthday to go film with them for
Did
that.
you have bourbon?
No, I did. I'm such a bourbon fan too.
Oh, that's mostly what I talk to Al about is bourbon.
really? I'll have to bring it up to him.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we met Al. He was at the time he was the chief engineer at Camaro.
Yes.
And
Z,
Camaro,
Z28.
Hence the collection I got to see.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he
The
was
fifth gen Z28.
He came out for the car of the year when Camaro won car of
Sixth
the
gen
year.
one. Yeah.
And when Colorado, same year that both Colorado and Camaro won.
Mm-hmm.
And then and he's been head of Chevy Performance.
He was, but now he's all
No, that was
electric at
before. Like
GM.
his,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can just see, like you talk about hockey stick. Like his career's gone up. Then he was head of global rear drive performance.
He
and
was
now
he
head of
was
Hummer
Geo Metro engineer when it became the Chevy Sprint.
Right.
So he was doing 3-cylinder Suzuki's
Talk about a guy who can sort of partition his brain, right? Like he loves performance vehicles
Yeah.
and Van Halen.
and now can do Geo Metros all the way to the Hummer EV. So you're considering a Tesla, you considered a Porsche, you have some kind of reservation down on a future Cadillac EV and a Hummer.
I didn't say EV.
Oh.
Didn't say EV Cadillac.
Oh,
but
got it. Okay,
yeah.
Clarify. Interesting. Now
Might have a black wing.
Oh.
Um,
Interesting. Head spinning.
yeah. Hey, I mean why not? I have a question, and because I know in my life when this happened, but when did you realize that your life is now forever tied to cars? And what was that? Did you have that realization?
I feel like my life's kind of always been tied to cars since I
But
learned that I love
professionally,
them.
I should say maybe.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think something that I've been trying to just truthfully and honestly grapple with lately is the fact that people look up to me and that I'm a role model for people. I think that's something that I need to accept because it's such a weird feeling for me.
And what do you mean by that? So you mean like you need to be on your best behavior, or
No,
watch
no,
what
no,
you
no, no,
say?
no, not none of that whatsoever. It's just a weird thing to have people come up to me and say that they look up to me and I inspire them to do all these incredible things in their life and make some like prominent changes and go after and finally finish the project that's in the driveway and stuff like that.
Johnny, you should aspire to this level of,
That-
self-awareness.
That's not
Like,
what
this
that's
is
not what
amazing.
people say to me. No, they come up to me with much different
Feedback.
opinions.
Well, I actually did want. That was one of the questions I had on here, and it's a total curve from what we've been talking about.
Sure,
But
sure.
you're a woman in
Yes.
a mostly, I will say, almost exclusively male-dominated industry.
97%.
Oh, well, my male audience on Instagram's 98%. So.
Oh, mine's only 97. So good.
Hey.
That's weird. How do you deal with the trolls? Because you have to have them. How do you stay in a good headspace? And this guy has I don't care. No, nobody. My stuff's all family, and he talks about it a lot. But I'm curious because you come from a different place.
Yeah.
How do you deal
And
with
women are much more abused,
it?
generally
That's what I
speaking,
meant.
online.
And it's not just online, and sometimes it's
Yeah.
in person too. Like the sexism can be real at times, and it's
Sure.
just the unfortunate reality of it. Me personally, I just try not to let it get to me. I know what I'm doing, and I just blinders on. I'm gonna do the things I want to do with the people I want to do them with, and inspire just to be the best person I can while creating the most interesting hero builds I can. So if people are talking shit, I mean, sure, it definitely gets to me at times, and I try not to read it, but I also don't want to not read the comments because I have fans who are engaging, and I want to be able to respond to them, and I want to be able to engage. But it's definitely difficult. I sometimes go in like lulls of like feeling defeated, and all because this 13-year-old in his mom's basement said something that rubbed me the wrong way.
Let me ask you this: How long do those lulls last?
It just depends.
And okay, because I've noticed like with me, because back when we started like head to head and ignition, like I would get bummed out for like a long time, and
Yeah.
now I think it's down to like seconds. I'll be like, if someone
Yeah.
has a good insult, it hits me for like 20 seconds, and then I'm like, screw that guy or
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm over it quickly. It still gets me, but it's
Yeah.
just
Do you use AIs or any filters to help?
No,
No?
I don't. In the beginning, I almost stopped YouTubing after like my third video because of how terrible
Oh,
the
it's the
comments were.
worst.
it's horrible.
But yeah, now the block feature is really nice. I love restricting
Yeah.
people and then responding to them, and then they think they're responding, and then realizing that they're just wasting all this time and energy
Oh,
when
wow.
they can't even see the comments.
You almost want to have a bot a bot that goes the other way, which is like just keeps them going and wasting their time that you never have to see.
Well, I see. I don't even do that. What I do, like, there's a guy the other day who, like, it wasn't even about this podcast, but this guy's like, "Oh, look, it's the host of the worst podcast in the whole world." And I'm like, I'd like to take this opportunity to announce we're recording 24 new episodes of the InEVitable.
And we're here.
Hey, real quick. So,
Yeah.
who is coming up to you? Are they younger, older, male, female?
Honestly, all ages, men, women, all of it. I don't think there's just one demographic or group. I have a very mature audience, so it can be people in their 70s coming up to me
Oh, no kidding! Wow.
telling me that they are inspired by the passion in what I do, and that they actually are going to take time to rebuild their projects or to refresh them up. And I also have kids who are very young who come up to me who are like, I hope I can be like you when I grow up. And I'm just like, wow.
And you have young girls are saying
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
So that's another question I had is that, did you have female role models you were looking up to? Because we've talked about this, like, when I was 14 or whatever, and I'd open MotorTrend. Actually, I'd never opened MotorTrend, but Car and Driver. Back then, and I'd see, like, I'm like, oh, look, there's a bunch of like guys, and they look like me, and they're driving around in fun cars. I could do that. Did you have that?
I can't really say I did. Later on, I started respecting I always respected women in the industry, but I started looking at them on a different level of, wow, look at what we've all been able to accomplish. I respect that. I
Right.
admire that, and I think it's pretty incredible. But for me, it's weird because I don't really compare myself to female or male. I don't want to be the biggest female YouTuber.
Right.
I just want to be the biggest person
Sure.
doing the coolest builds, and I don't need biggest following. Like I really,
No, I know what you
I don't
mean.
care. So,
I know
yeah,
what you mean.
I just want to. I compare myself to whoever's in the market or the industry for what they're doing, and less of what their gender is or stuff like
Right,
that.
but so when you started, you
No,
never.
yeah, I did. There wasn't. I can't really say that there was that one person. I was like, I want to be like her when I grow up, because there wasn't a whole lot of that.
And did you pause and say like, man, a woman's never done this. I'm not going to be able to do this, or that just never. Even
No,
entered
I
your
think
head?
maybe that's why it's so weird for me to understand that I'm a role model, because for me there wasn't that female role model in a way. I mean, in the car community in Indiana, there was, on the forums that we were on, there was one other girl, and she was in a completely different county, and keep in mind, thousands of guys. So it's
Right.
kind of just, you just take it for what it was, you know?
And do you see this changing? Like now that you've been in
Yeah.
this a long
Oh,
time,
yeah.
and now that
There-
young women are coming up to you, you're seeing a change?
Yeah, I'm seeing a huge change. I mean, just in the past 10
That's great.
years,
That's fantastic.
and that's why I'm so grateful of social media, because it really opened the doors to other builders, and because we're talking on women, other women builders, and seeing what they've been able to accomplish, what they're doing today. It's pretty freaking inspiring.
Yeah.
You know what's great about this entire conversation?
No, what?
Is that this whole time, Ms. Emilia hasn't really done a ton of self-promotion. She's got a lot of stuff she's working on. And we've asked her a lot of stuff, but, which is a lead up to my question in terms of what does the future hold
Ooh.
for you? Because you've launched, you had your own website, and you launched another sort of merch site. You have apparel,
Yes.
but you also have, which was wild to me. I mean, apparel's not wild. The the car care products. I was
Yes.
like, oh, that's pretty clever. How's that going? Is there an expansion of that? Are you doing other
Yeah.
stuff? What
Got
else?
any freebies?
I should have brought some with me.
I could use some.
I am so excited about the car care. It's been going extremely well, and I'm looking at we're looking at, the team and I, at branching out with more products. We have a couple that we just finished development with that we're doing testing with, and we're hoping to announce that in the next few weeks. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, we have I guess we just have a plastic and trim clear coat that doesn't have any dyes in it, that you can use to preserve the, like, it would have been perfect on the Bronco before I sold it just for the plastic trim to preserve it, because like old Porsches and stuff like that, you can see like older cars,
Right.
some of the
Fade,
trim pieces just
crack.
start fading, they turn
It's called
white.
patina. Yeah.
Well, patina's more for rust,
Metal,
right?
Come on.
Plastic patina.
But yeah, so it's more to preserve that, and there's no dyes in it, so it's not going to change the color of it. And then it's also going to, when you do apply it, it gives it that nice shine, so it almost looks fresh, rejuvenized, even though we're not putting any dye in it. So that's really nice. We have a window cleaner coming out. The products they have to be watered down a little, else you're just spraying pure product on it. But ours is probably the least watered down product on the market. And we care about the ingredients in it, so we only try to source the best. And yeah, we're going to be expanding onto eBay Motors, or the eBay website, as well as Amazon Prime, and then just trying to
And
what
what is this product called?
Hartford Limited is the car care.
Right, and that's-
HartfordLTD.com.
That's the site. Yep.
Yeah,
Got
and
it.
then
Okay,
I also
cool.
donate a percentage of the proceeds to nonprofit organizations. Recently, with the car care, it's been the Girls Inc. Foundation. With the apparel, it's different mental health organizations, because I just feel like that's my way of giving back. So
Oh, that's great.
yeah, I try to. I feel weird just profiting a bunch of money without donating or giving back in some way. So
Well, you're fairly unique in that regard.
Well, look, this has been an awesome conversation, and we covered a lot of ground.
I have a final question. Maybe not
Yeah.
final.
Well,
but
I didn't say we're ending.
getting
Bring
the
it
final,
on.
Getting the final. So what is it? Thousand Oaks, Westlake Village, Agora, Camarillo. What is it? Why? Because we've had this happen before. Where
really,
we meet, it's like, what is it about? I mean, it's Southern California, I think, is a large part of it. But like,
It's the burbs, baby.
we all
Boredom in
grew
the
up.
burbs.
There was no like car class or anything at my school.
yeah, no.
Maybe there's an auto shop, but that was for like the people that are still hanging
You
out
guys
there.
had auto shop at your school?
I'm old. Yeah, we had an auto shop. Yeah,
No.
but I didn't even know we had an auto shop. We had like a metal working class or something.
when
Everybody
I-
made a skull gear shift. That was a big thing.
That sounds fun. When I moved back to California, I actually tried going to Pierce College to study automotive.
Uh-huh.
So I did a couple classes there, and then realized it just wasn't. I was learning more wrenching hands-on in the garage than I was
Sure.
in class.
But it was back to like
Westlake,
what
yeah.
is it about that area? Because you
I
do it.
don't
You
know.
have to drive everywhere. You can't
Yeah.
walk to anything.
Yeah.
Is that
No, it's the suburbs. It's. I was not kidding. It's just boredom in the suburbs. The areas are, they're middle class and there's disposable income. Like it is. It's not everywhere in this planet for sure that when you're 16 you probably get a car, right? And whether you have to work your butt off in retail to get it or your parents give you one. And we had kids in my high school that had really awesome cars, and then and their dads or their parents would help them like build on them. Like my buddy in high school had like an 8-second Camaro, and he used to make me pay gas money to take him home. And I'm like, that's super unfair. It's like you drop the clutch once, and that's like the quarter tank is gone. Like,
yeah, no, I knew a guy with like a 55. I forget what it ran. It was a 55 Chevy that ran a competitive number. I had a friend with this. We literally outran the cops, 160 miles an hour on Lynn Road in a 66 Mustang. He had like 160. It was insane.
Wait, this is cool, but it sounds like you guys are in a different era. I'm not gonna lie, because for me,
we're old. We're in the old era.
The cars didn't come in until I moved to Indiana.
Right,
and
right.
So I wasn't really into them when I was living in that area.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
So what do the folks at home think about your career? Like,
I think everyone's super supportive.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Were your folks into cars at all?
Not while I was alive, or while I was alive. Now, let me start over.
Yeah.
When my father was alive, I didn't know that he liked cars. I just remember he had this like convertible Mercedes. And then
Wait. What kind of convertible?
I couldn't even tell you. That's all I remember.
Okay.
It wasn't like a collector's
SL or
item.
something.
Yeah, nothing like that.
Okay.
320 CE or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say CE.
I found out 2 years ago though he had like an old Challenger, and I was like, wait, he used to have that? Like, that's cool.
See, I wonder, because I grew up, I mean, I think my dad died, about 21 years ago, but most of the things I remember about him was just us talking about cars. But then I had a sister. I don't think he ever spoke to her about cars. And my dad wasn't particularly sexist or anything like that. He just,
Sure.
for whatever reason, talked to the boy about cars and didn't talk to my sister, who, grew up in the same house, could have been just as interested in cars as I was. And it's interesting.
I think that's exactly what it was. I mean,
Right.
I don't even know if he ever talked to my brother about it because my brother is like so much younger. But yeah, I never really got that experience. It was more I have a very vivid memory though with my dad on the freeway blasting Bohemian Rhapsody as he would do 100 in his Mercedes.
Nice.
And he would take me to and from dance like class.
Top down Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, that was it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Well, look, this has been a great conversation. It turns out we did answer.
Hope. We hope.
No, this was
We'll let
awesome.
the listeners.
No,
decide.
this is awesome. And this was great.
It's been fun.
It's we did answer my main priority, which is to figure out whether EV ownership is inevitable for Miss Emilia. It is. It appears funded by the sale of a famous gas-powered vehicle. I would love to have you back on at some point in the future, post-purchase, to talk about what it's like, whether you can stand
by the
whether you can stand sitting at a supercharger station if you end up with a Tesla or at another charging station and deal with everything that comes with EV ownership. But
the other half of the show is also autonomy. And sounds like you're, as interested, if not more interested in autonomy. And there's a bunch of cool stuff coming down the road. Like Mercedes is, you want to email in the car, like they're saying December 22, January 23, they're going to have a level 3 autonomous car, which literally drives itself, meaning it takes on the legal, responsibility for everything. So you can watch TV behind the wheel because the car's driving.
Yes, because she's not only interested in EVs, but also the ability to multitask, we'll put it politely.
Mind you, in city traffic.
No, totally. That's the dream, right? I mean, I want to be able to take my car on a canyon road or a racetrack and then be able to go to have dinner, have a couple glasses of wine, and have the car get me home safely. Right.
Yeah.
That's what I want. Where's that?
Right.
I don't know if that'll ever be legal though.
Oh yeah. Oh, level 4 autonomy, totally legal. Because at that point, the cars can drive at night.
Yeah.
Humans don't have to do anything. And, level 5 means cars don't have steering wheels. And that's
Yeah.
not
I've
far.
seen
Yeah.
concept cars
Not
with a
far
steering wheel,
off,
which is
not
crazy.
far
Yeah, but I
off.
think what she meant was we don't know whether if you are behind, when a car still has a steering wheel, if you're behind the wheel and technically legally drunk, that's not legal.
That's legal because in level 3 the car assumes the liability. Now,
I don't know.
the trick with level 3 is though it only works in daytime and clear weather on geofenced places. Level 4, it technically can work anywhere.
We are going to put a pin in this question because we have
I'm very into autonomy.
we have a guest that we're looking forward to talking to sometime in the future that should be able to answer definitively about this because she leads the government agency in charge of safety in vehicles on the highway. So that's something we'll get to later. So to be determined. But I do want to say thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this was
coming
great.
on.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And,
I thought so too.
Yeah, and let's reconnect. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.